Yes. Yes, the shirt is on backwards, but it is because I just recorded another video, and I was like, you know what? Let's change it up for the people. So this is a little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action. Got it for good old Christmas. But, but it's, but, but it's, but let's talk about some feelings as a guy. It kind of feels like a bit of a taboo subject, even though like people talk about it a lot. Like it's a lot of things. I feel like podcasts and all that stuff. Like people are more open. I feel like guys are more open to like talk about what it is, or there's all this stuff with mental health or all this stuff. But it still feels like there's this cyclical or whatever deal like during the generations where, for most guys, this is not exclusive. This is just my experience. I mean, you get a different one. So no hate, nothing, no ill intent. But what I came to feel and like as I was growing up is that, okay, so I have these emotions, have these feelings, some of them not great, like really not great, but I don't really want to be a burden on anyone else and kind of express those feelings. So I'll just kind of see, hey, can I get it done in here? And obviously I was lucky to have faith. So just with God, being God, just kind of chilling in the background, trying to figure out stuff while I just pretend like I'm fine. Like I feel like a lot of guys, and maybe this is the same for a lot of women. It's no judgment, but I feel like it's normal for people to just pretend like there's something that they're not in order to get by and make it seem like everything's fine when it really isn't. Like it's kind of the whole idea of why everyone does pretty much the same thing in life. Like we go through the same cycles of stuff, and a lot of stuff we do, we probably don't like, but we just do it just because, and you just pretend like it's okay and just go along with it because you kind of don't know what else to do. And so I feel like that kind of relates back to all this. I mean, I feel like this is typical with the guy friendships and stuff like that. It's like, obviously you have good friends, like I have great friends and stuff like that, but it's pretty abnormal to talk about deep stuff. Like unless you like really get to know people and really whatever over time, like usually conversations are very surface level, and maybe they'll talk about a girl, or maybe they'll talk about this or that or whatever, but it usually is just a thing that will get mentioned, like, oh, something happened with such and such, and it kind of gets pushed to the curb and not talked about. Whereas I feel like, I don't want to gender or whatever, but I feel like with a lot of like women and stuff like that, you kind of bring it up and you kind of go through it and process it, which is a lot smarter. But I feel like with a lot of guys, it's like, okay, we sure, like such and such happened, or like Mikey got broken up with the girlfriend for 5 years, and we're just gonna talk about football today. We're just talking about football or whatever. We're just gonna throw football around and talk about like teams or whatever. Like a lot of times it's people the guys. I mean, I avoided talking about like losing my dad for like 2.5 years to my closest friend. So it's kind of feels like it's just kind of a thing, or at least in my genetic pool, to just kind of avoid stuff in order to make it seem like everything's fine. And that was definitely a problem I had. Like definitely something I should have been more open. And I could give a lot of praise and thanks to a lot of like good women, like my mom, sisters, and obviously girls I've been around, or like other family and friends, stuff like that, that really helped me open up and feel better about being honest. Because a lot of times what I'd do is I'd pretend in ways that were probably pushing the limit a little too much. Like I remember one time an old teacher from my high school asked about my dad after he'd already passed away, and I said he was fine. Probably not the greatest decision, but if that shows you where I was at. That's why I'm talking about this, is because it doesn't feel like a thing that should be the thing. Like it feels like it should be easier for people to be open and not necessarily like, oh, being like some like whatever, like crying all the time. Like it's like just being open. I feel like being open with people is so huge, and something that a lot of like guy friendships tend to shy away from in order to just keep things normal, keep things like whatever, instead of like facing stuff. Maybe controversial, but at least for me, I think a big changer was journaling and like writing stuff down. Like I just wrote pretty much I just wrote a few times a day for every day. So when I started eventually talking to people about it, I'd already, in a sense, talked to myself. And I feel like with this kind of stuff, you almost have to like get good enough with yourself and be good enough mentally and all that stuff to be able to like go about it the right way instead of being like a complete mess talking about something. Like you don't want to just immediately after something happens, like go through and because usually it's going to be some like instincts or crazy. Like you're just going to start doing stuff, as the kids would say, doing too much. So I think it's good to just, hey, process it, understand what you're feeling, go through that, feel those emotions, and then tell people about it. Especially because, I mean, if you have good friends, they're going to want your best interest, and the more honest and vulnerable you're able to be, the deeper the friendship is going to be. So it kind of helps just to do that. So that's why I think it's so dang important why I made the video. And that's why I think it's so important to do it, even if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Like I was very uncomfortable. It took, I mean, you would think I was you'd think I was like running like 1,000 miles with how long it took me to get to the point of telling them. Like I was like, it was years of me just like being like, whenever they'd mention something, I would be like, It took so long. And I hope that people out there don't just try to be like, oh, my problems are my problems. I'm not going to, like, be open and honest, be truthful, and the real friends and the real people will be there for you. So that's just my little TED Talk. But anyway, check out this video if you like it. Have a nice day, and God bless.